Hey guys, tonight we step quietly into the soft, shifting sands of an ancient desert, where the first light of dawn is just beginning to stretch across the horizon, and a long line of camels stands waiting in patient silence. The air is cool for now, surprisingly cool, and the sky carries that pale, washed-out blue. You're here, somehow, about to join a Silk Road caravan at the exact moment it begins its journey. Take a slow breath, feeling the stillness. There are no roads, no signs, no helpful little GPS voice telling you to turn left in 200 meters. Just sand, sky, and a group of people. They seem entirely confident that they know where they're going. You, on the other hand, are already wondering if you packed enough water. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're settling in, go ahead and drop your location and local time in the comments. It's always fascinating to see where everyone is drifting off from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The caravan is waking up. With a slow, deliberate rhythm, a man adjusts a rope here, another checks a bundle there. A camel lets out a low, almost thoughtful groan, as if it too is considering whether this journey is really necessary. The Silk Road wasn't a single road. It was an intricate web of trade routes stretching across Asia, connecting China to the Middle East and beyond. Goods, ideas, languages, even entire belief systems traveled along these paths. And today, you're stepping into that flow. You glance down at your feet, noticing the soft crunch of sand beneath your sandals. Every step sinks slightly, reminding you that this journey will be slow. A handler gestures for you to follow. They're taller than you expected, their long necks swaying gently. Their expressions are somewhere between annoyance and indifference. Bactrian camels, the two humped variety, were essential. They could carry heavy loads, endure extreme temperatures, and go for long periods without water. A bundle is handed to you, light enough to carry, but clearly not optional. Around you, others are securing their loads, tightening straps, checking knots. There's no countdown. The caravan simply begins. One camel steps forward, then another, and suddenly the entire line is in motion. You fall into place, matching the slow, steady pace. Step, sink, lift, repeat. The ground shifts beneath you. The sun rises higher, and with it comes warmth. Not harsh yet, but noticeable. The coolness of dawn begins to fade. You glance around at the other travelers. They're a mix of backgrounds, clothing styles, languages. Some carry items that hint at distant origins. Historians argue whether caravans were highly organized or looser associations. Watching this group, it feels like a bit of both. Structure, but also flexibility. A man walking beside you adjusts his head covering, shielding himself from the growing light. He doesn't speak, but there's a quiet acknowledgement. The landscape stretches endlessly ahead, broken only by gentle rises in the sand. No landmarks. And yet, the caravan moves with quiet confidence. Travelers relied on memory, experience, and subtle cues. Wind patterns, star positions, even the behavior of animals to find their way. The sound of movement becomes your background. Soft footsteps, the gentle clink of goods shifting, the occasional low murmur. Just steady. Your breathing slows. Your steps find a rhythm. This is how the journey begins. Not with urgency, but with slow, deliberate movement. You glance once more at the horizon, where the light continues to spread, illuminating the path ahead. And for now, you continue walking, your steps gradually sinking with the gentle sway of the caravan. The sun has climbed a little higher now, casting a warmer light across the sand, and the coolness of dawn is quietly slipping away. You adjust your grip on the bundle over your shoulder, already realizing that what felt light at the start is slowly becoming less light. The camels ahead move with steady confidence, their long legs carrying them across the uneven terrain without hesitation. Each one is loaded carefully, bundles secured with ropes, layered in a way that balances weight. Every item has its place. You move closer to one of the handlers, watching as he checks a strap along the side of a camel. He tightens it slightly, then pats the animal's side with a familiarity that suggests long experience. The camel responds with a low, unimpressed sound, but continues walking. You glance at the bundles, more closely now. Silk, you realize, is one of the most valuable goods here. Fine, lightweight, and incredibly desirable in distant markets. It's what gave the Silk Road its name, though it's far from the only thing being traded. Spices, precious stones, ceramics, metals, even paper. All of it moves along these routes, carried step by step across vast distances. A mainstream historical fact settles in. Silk production was closely guarded in ancient China for centuries. The methods of raising silkworms and weaving silk were considered state secrets, and exporting raw knowledge was heavily restricted, which means much of what you're looking at has traveled under layers of quiet protection. You reach out slightly, not quite touching one of the bundles, but close enough to see the fine wrapping that protects it. It's carefully sealed, layered in cloth to keep it safe from dust and damage. This isn't just cargo, it's value, wealth in a portable form. A light thought drifts through your mind. Somewhere far to the west, someone is probably waiting eagerly for this exact bundle, completely unaware that it's currently being carried across a desert by a slightly skeptical camel. You walk a little closer to the line, observing the variety of goods. Some bundles are tightly wrapped, others stored in wooden containers. You catch a faint scent from one, spices perhaps, something warm and aromatic, even in the dry air. The handler notices your interest and gestures briefly toward the load. No words, just a small motion that says, "Important." You nod, as if you completely understand. Inside, you're already imagining how far these items will travel. Across deserts, mountains, cities, cultures. The Silk Road wasn't just about moving goods. It was about connecting worlds. Historians still argue whether the term Silk Road accurately reflects how these routes were used. Since silk was only one of many traded items, some suggest it oversimplifies a complex network. Walking here, seeing the variety, you begin to understand that complexity. You shift your attention to the camels themselves again. Each one carries a slightly different load, and you notice how carefully weight is distributed. Too much on one side, and the animal would struggle. Too little balance, and the journey becomes inefficient. It's a quiet science, refined through experience. A quirky detail comes to mind. Camels can carry loads of up to several hundred kilograms and still maintain this steady pace for hours, which means, technically, each one is doing far more work than you are right now. You glance at your own bundle and decide not to compare. The sun continues its slow climb, and the heat begins to press more firmly against your skin. It's not overwhelming yet, but it's persistent. A reminder that this environment doesn't really care about your comfort. You adjust your head covering slightly, mimicking the others. The fabric shields your face, creating a pocket of shade. A man ahead of you reaches for a water container, taking a measured sip before passing it along. The movement is casual, but controlled. Water is not something you waste here. It's managed, shared carefully. Respected, you receive it briefly, take a small sip, and pass it on. The water is warm, but welcome. You resist the urge to drink more. Another small lesson. The caravan stretches out behind you now, a long, moving line across the sand. From a distance, it would look almost like a single organism, flowing slowly through the landscape. You find your rhythm again. Step, sink, lift, repeat. The repetition becomes soothing. Your thoughts slow, your focus narrows. There's nothing urgent, nothing demanding immediate attention, just the steady movement forward. A soft conversation begins somewhere nearby. Two traders exchanging a few words. The tone is calm, almost casual. Even here, in the middle of a desert, life continues in its small, familiar ways. You listen without trying to follow the meaning, letting the sound blend into the background. It becomes part of the rhythm. Modern travel involves schedules and notifications. Here, it's just walking. No itinerary, no countdown, just a shared direction and the understanding that you'll get there when you get there. Eventually, you glance ahead again, noticing a slight change in the landscape, a subtle rise, a shift in the color of the sand. Nothing dramatic, but enough to suggest that the journey isn't entirely unchanging. There will be variation, but for now, the focus remains on the present step, and the next, and the one after that, because this is how goods move across continents. Not quickly, not easily, but steadily. One careful step at a time, you keep pace with the caravan, the rhythm settling deeper into your body now, until walking no longer feels like effort. Your mind has room to wander again, and as it does, you begin to notice more of the people around you. They're not all the same. A man ahead wears layered robes with patterns you don't recognize, his head wrapped in a style slightly different from the others. Another traveler carries small metal objects tied in cloth, their faint clinking marking his steps through the dunes. Someone further back speaks in a softer tone, their language flowing with a rhythm that feels unfamiliar, but oddly calming. This is where the Silk Road becomes something more than a trade route. It's a meeting place. You drift closer to a pair of traders. They gesture toward a bundle, laughing quietly. Behind the conversation is the quiet blending of cultures. The Silk Road facilitated not just the exchange of goods, but also the spread of ideas, technologies, and beliefs. Buddhism traveled from India into China along these routes. Paper-making techniques moved westward. Artistic styles merged and evolved. All of that was carried in moments like this. You notice fine embroidery along a trader's sleeve, subtle, detailed, and from a far-off region. Everyone carries something of where they came from, even if it's just in how they walk. You adjust your own step, aware that you stand out. But no one seems concerned. The caravan accepts difference as part of its nature. Some connections are brief and transactional. Others linger a little longer. A man beside you offers a small nod, then gestures toward the horizon. Communication here doesn't always need words. Traders often relied on a mix of languages and gestures to keep ideas moving. The caravan continues its steady movement as the sun climbs higher. The movements of the group are efficient and practiced. There's no rush. There can't be. Everything here is built around patience. A strap has loosened on a camel. The handler stops, adjusts it with careful precision, then steps back. The group waits without frustration. You see the goods differently now. Each item is a connection, a chain of hands that will carry it along the way. Silk from China, spices from India, glassware from the Middle East, all of it crossing paths here. A soft breeze moves across the sand, carrying the scent of dust and distance. You close your eyes, letting the sensation settle. Another pair of traders passes, discussing size or quantity with hand motions. Even here, nothing stops the exchange. Imagine closing a business deal while walking across a desert with no contracts, just a nod and shared understanding. Surprisingly efficient. You glance back, noticing how far the caravan stretches. A moving line of people, animals, and goods, all connected by a shared direction. No one leads in an obvious way. No one lags too far behind. It's a balance. The landscape shifts slightly. Subtle changes in color and texture. It reminds you that this journey isn't entirely uniform. There will be changes. Gradually, quietly, just like everything else here. You take another step, then another. The rhythm continues, and somewhere within it, you begin to understand that this journey isn't just about reaching a destination. It's about everything that happens along the way. You settle deeper into the rhythm, and at some point, without any clear moment marking it, walking stops feeling like something you're doing and becomes something you simply are. Your steps match the sway of the camels. Your breathing finds a steady pace, and the world narrows to the stretch of ground just ahead of you. Step, sink, lift, repeat. The desert stretches outward in all directions, a vast, quiet expanse that seems almost unchanged no matter how long you look at it. And yet, if you pay attention, really pay attention, you begin to notice the subtle variations. The sand isn't uniform. It shifts in tone, from pale gold to deeper amber. Small ridges form where the wind has moved it, creating delicate patterns. Occasionally, a patch of harder ground appears, offering a brief moment of easier footing before returning to the softer, shifting terrain. You didn't think walking could be this repetitive or this strangely calming. Caravans along the Silk Road typically traveled between 20 to 30 kilometers per day, depending on conditions. Not fast, but sustainable, predictable, built around endurance. You do a quick mental calculation and immediately stop, because thinking about how long this journey might actually take is not particularly helpful right now. The sun climbs higher, and with it, the heat becomes more noticeable. It builds slowly, almost politely at first. Then, with growing persistence, you adjust your head covering again, pulling it slightly lower to shield your face. Others do the same. No one complains. There's no point. A light breeze moves across the desert, but it carries warmth rather than relief. Still, it breaks the stillness just enough. You glance at the camels again. Their pace hasn't changed. Their expressions, still unreadable. If anything, they seem even more composed than before. A quiet thought surfaces. If there were an award for least bothered traveler, the camels would win every time. You shift your bundle slightly, redistributing the weight across your shoulder. It helps, a little. Small adjustments matter. That seems to be the theme here. Small movements, small changes, everything adding up over time. Historians argue whether caravans maintained strict formations. You see a loose order, everyone roughly in line, but with enough flexibility to adjust. It's adaptive. A trader ahead slows slightly, allowing another to pass. No words exchanged, just a subtle shift in pace, a quiet understanding of space. It's almost like a silent choreography, each person adjusting without instruction. The simplicity of it, no signals, no commands, just awareness. Experienced Silk Road travelers could judge distance and time based on the sun and shadows. No clocks, no watches, just observation. You glance at your own shadow, stretching slightly behind you. You have no idea what it means. Yet, the others seem to know exactly how long they've been walking. You consider asking, then decide it's probably easier to just keep walking. The ground shifts again, rising gently into a low incline. It's not steep, but it's enough to make you notice the effort. Your steps become shorter. The camels adjust without hesitation, their pace steady as ever. At the top of the rise, the view opens slightly. More desert, but different. The patterns in the sand change. The color deepens, and in the far distance, you think you see a faint line, something darker against the horizon. Maybe a distant ridge, maybe just your eyes. The man beside you glances in the same direction, then continues walking without comment. You take that as a sign. No need to worry. Yet, a soft murmur of conversation drifts through the group again, low and unhurried. It blends with the sound of footsteps and the occasional camel grunt. The world feels smaller here, simpler, not easy, but simple. You take another sip of water when it's passed your way, careful, measured. The warmth of it doesn't matter anymore. It's just necessary. The rhythm continues. Step, sink, lift, repeat. Time feels different now. Not slower, exactly, but less defined. There are no clear markers, no obvious transitions. Just the steady progression of movement. This kind of travel changes people. It strips things down, removes the unnecessary, leaves you with just the essentials: movement, awareness, endurance. A light, sleepy humor drifts through your mind. Modern fitness trackers would have a field day here. Congratulations! You've walked 30,000 steps, and you're not even halfway done. You almost laugh. Almost. The sun continues its steady climb, and the day unfolds without urgency. No sudden changes, no dramatic shifts, just the quiet, persistent act of moving forward. And somewhere within that movement, you find a kind of peace, not because it's easy, but because it's steady. And right now, steady is enough. By the time the light begins to soften again, you realize the day has quietly slipped past you, not in dramatic shifts or obvious milestones, but in a slow, steady unfolding that you almost didn't notice. The sun, once high and persistent, now lowers itself toward the horizon, its warmth easing into something gentler. The caravan begins to slow. Not abruptly. Nothing here happens abruptly, but with a gradual easing of pace. The camels reduce their stride, the traders adjust their steps, and there's a subtle shift in the atmosphere that tells you something is about to change. You glance ahead and notice the ground looks slightly different, firmer, less shifting underfoot. A few scattered rocks break the endless pattern of sand, and in the distance, you can make out the faint outline of low structures. A resting place, a camp. You feel a small wave of relief, even if you weren't fully aware of how much you needed it. The caravan comes to a stop in a wide, open space that feels just sheltered enough from the wind. The camels kneel one by one, lowering themselves with a series of slow, deliberate movements that look both graceful and slightly awkward. Their loads are carefully removed, each bundle handled with the same attention you've seen all day. You set your own bundle down, rolling your shoulders slightly to release the tension. It's a small motion, but it feels incredibly satisfying. Silk Road caravans often planned their stops around known resting points, oases, wells, or simply areas that offered some protection from the elements. These stops were essential, not just for rest, but for maintaining the health of both people and animals. You take a moment to look around. The sky is beginning to shift in color, soft gold fading into deeper orange, then hints of purple at the edges. The desert, which felt so endless and unchanging during the day, now takes on a quieter, almost reflective quality. The work doesn't stop completely, though. It just changes. Some traders begin setting up simple shelters, cloth stretched between poles. Others focus on the animals, checking their feet, brushing away dust, ensuring they're settled comfortably for the night. You move closer to one of the small groups, watching as a fire is prepared. It starts with a few pieces of fuel and a spark. The spark quickly grows into a steady flame. The light from the fire adds a new layer to the scene. Warm, flickering, alive. In some regions, dried animal dung was commonly used as fuel. It burns slowly and efficiently, which makes it practical. You settle down near the edge of the camp, lowering yourself onto the ground. It's still warm from the day's heat, but cooling gradually. No one complains. No one needs to. This is expected. A small pot is placed near the fire, and soon the faint scent of something cooking begins to drift through the air. You watch as people gather in small groups, sharing quiet conversations, exchanging small bits of food. The urgency is gone, replaced by something calmer. Historians argue whether evenings were quiet rest or lively hubs of exchange. Sitting here now, it feels like a balance of both. The sky is darkening now, and the first stars begin to appear, faint at first, then brighter as the light fades. Without the distractions of modern life, the night sky here is expansive, almost overwhelming in its clarity. A man nearby begins telling a story, his voice low and steady. You don't understand every word, but the tone carries enough meaning. There's a rhythm to it, a cadence that feels almost like the walking you did earlier. Steady, predictable, comforting. You shift slightly, settling into a more comfortable position. The fire crackles softly. Everything feels quieter now, not silent, but softened. You close your eyes for just a moment, listening. The desert, which felt so vast and empty during the day, now feels almost intimate. A shared space, a temporary home. You open your eyes again, watching as the stars multiply, filling the sky with points of light that seem almost within reach. This is the other side of the journey. Not the movement, not the effort, but the stillness that follows. Because tomorrow, the walking will begin again. But for now, you rest. The fire burns lower, not out, just calmer, its glow settling into a steady pulse that matches the quiet mood of the camp. You shift slightly where you sit, noticing how the ground has cooled beneath you, releasing the last traces of the day's heat into the night air. Around you, conversations taper off, replaced by longer pauses, softer tones, and eventually, silence, or something close to it. Because the desert is never completely silent, there's the faint rustle of wind across sand, the occasional movement of a camel adjusting its position, the soft crackle of embers shifting in the fire. These sounds layer together into something subtle, something steady. You let yourself lean back a little further, propping yourself against a bundle. The stars above seem even brighter now, no longer competing with the fading light. They stretch across the sky in a way that feels almost impossible, endless, unmoving, quietly present. This is the same sky travelers have looked at for centuries. Silk Road travelers often relied on celestial navigation. The stars weren't just decoration, they were guides. You glance upward again, trying to pick out patterns, constellations. You recognize absolutely nothing, which is mildly concerning, considering how important this skill seems to be. If you were left alone out here, with only the stars to guide you, Your journey would likely end about 10 minutes after it began. You almost smile. Across the camp, someone adjusts a blanket. Another shifts closer to the remaining warmth. Everyone understands that this quiet space is meant for rest. You let your gaze drift back down, watching the faint glow of the embers. They pulse gently, fading and brightening in slow cycles, like a quiet heartbeat. Caravan travelers slept in structured rotations for safety or relied on the group's presence. There's an awareness, a subtle alertness, even as people settle in. No one is completely unaware, but no one is tense either. It's a balance. You adjust your position again, finding a spot that feels comfortable enough. Your body, which carried you across the desert all day, now seems more than ready to rest. The fatigue isn't sharp. It's deep, steady, almost reassuring. Some travelers carried small personal items for comfort. Simple things like cloths, tools, or charms, believed to bring protection during long journeys. You glance at your own hands again, still faintly marked with the dust of the day. No charm, no tool, just the memory of movement. You close your eyes briefly, letting the sounds of the camp settle around you. The fire, the wind, the soft shift of fabric or sand, the day's repetition. Step, sink, lift, echoes faintly in your body, even as you sit still. It's as if the rhythm continues, just beneath the surface. You open your eyes again, drawn back to the sky. More stars now, brighter, clearer. The kind of sky that makes you feel small and grounded. You notice a faint streak across the darkness, a shooting star passing quickly. You wonder if anyone else saw it, then decide it doesn't really matter. A soft voice nearby murmurs something, perhaps a final comment before sleep. You pull your covering closer as the temperature continues to drop. Daytime, too hot, nighttime, too cold. The desert clearly believes in balance, just not comfort. You let the thought pass. Your eyes grow heavier now, the steady calm of the environment easing you toward rest. There's no urgency here, no need to track time. Let the vastness of the sky and the quiet of the desert settle gently around you. The fire dims, the voices fade, the night deepens, and you rest. The morning doesn't arrive all at once. It slips in quietly, almost politely, like it doesn't want to interrupt what little rest you manage to find. You become aware of it before you see it. A faint light pressing against your eyelids, a subtle shift in the air, cool again. For now, you open your eyes slowly, the stars fading overhead as the sky returns to that pale, early blue. The fire is little more than a cluster of soft embers now, their glow barely visible against the growing light. Around you, the camp begins to stir. No loud wake-up call, no dramatic start, just movement. A blanket being folded, a quiet stretch. The soft sound of footsteps as someone stands and begins preparing for the day. The camels shift too, rising one by one with those slow, deliberate motions you're starting to recognize. You sit up, feeling the familiar weight in your muscles. Not pain exactly, just a deep reminder that yesterday happened. You roll your shoulders slightly, flex your hands, and take a slow breath. The air feels clean. Still, a moment of calm before everything begins again. A small portion of food is passed your way. Simple, practical. Bread, of course. Slightly firm now. No longer warm from the oven, but still sustaining. You take a bite, chewing slowly. It's different from what you're used to. Denser, more present. But after yesterday, it tastes like exactly what you need. A mainstream historical fact settles in. Bread and simple provisions like this formed the foundation of daily nutrition along the Silk Road. Meals weren't elaborate during travel. They were efficient, designed to provide energy rather than indulgence. You take another bite, noticing how quickly it disappears once you stop analyzing it. Hunger makes everything easier. After a full day of walking, even the simplest bread starts to feel like a 5-star experience. You finish, brush your hands lightly, and stand as the camp continues to shift into motion. Packing happens quickly, efficiently. There's no wasted movement. Blankets are folded, bundles secured, tools gathered. The temporary space that felt like a resting place just hours ago begins to dissolve. Nothing left behind. A quirky detail surfaces. Experienced caravans often left minimal trace of their camps, both out of habit and practicality. Resources were limited, and anything left behind was either unnecessary or a mistake. You glance around. The space already looks less occupied, less defined, as if the night never really happened. The camels are loaded again, each bundle returned to its place with practiced care. You notice how quickly it all comes together, the structure reforming itself. Without discussion, historians still argue whether caravan routines were strictly timed or more fluid, adapting to conditions and experience. Watching this, it feels like routine shaped by necessity, not rigid, but reliable. You pick up your own bundle, adjusting it with slightly more confidence than yesterday. It still has weight, but now you know how to carry it, how to shift it when needed, how to move with it instead of against it. A small improvement. The caravan begins to move again. No announcement, no signal, just the first step, followed by another. You fall into line, your body remembering the rhythm before your mind fully engages. Step, sink, lift, repeat. The desert looks the same, and yet it doesn't. You notice more now. The way the light hits the sand at this angle, the subtle shadows forming along small ridges, the faint traces of movement left behind by wind or passing animals. The horizon shifts slowly as you walk, revealing slight variations in the landscape. A distant rise, a darker patch of ground, nothing dramatic, but enough to remind you that you are moving, even if it feels like you aren't. The group is quieter this morning, not silent, but more subdued. Perhaps everyone is still waking up, or perhaps this is just the natural rhythm, movement following rest. Without the need for conversation, you adjust your pace slightly, matching the caravan's flow. The camels move as steadily as ever, their presence almost reassuring now. They don't question the journey, they just follow it. A man ahead adjusts his head, covering again, shielding himself from the growing light. You do the same, instinctively now. The sun hasn't reached its full strength yet, but you know it will. It always does. A soft breeze passes through, carrying the faint scent of dust and distance. It's familiar now, expected. You breathe it in without thinking. Another light thought drifts through your mind. If modern life had this kind of consistency, same pace, same rhythm, you might actually get used to it. Then again, you'd probably still miss air conditioning. You continue walking. The rhythm settles in again. Step, sink, lift, repeat. Time begins to blur once more. The early morning stretching into something longer, less defined. There are no clear markers, no obvious transitions, just movement, steady, unchanging, and yet somehow always moving forward. You glance ahead, noticing a faint shift in the terrain once again. A subtle change, a hint of something different. The journey continues, and so do you. The morning doesn't arrive all at once. It slips in quietly, almost politely, like it doesn't want to interrupt what little rest you manage to find. You become aware of it before you see it. a faint light pressing against your eyelids, a subtle shift in the air, cool again. For now, you open your eyes slowly, the stars fading overhead as the sky returns to that pale, early blue. The fire is little more than a cluster of soft embers now, their glow barely visible against the growing light. Around you, the camp begins to stir. No loud wake-up call, no dramatic start, just movement. A blanket being folded, a quiet stretch. The soft sound of footsteps as someone stands and begins preparing for the day. The camels shift too, rising one by one with those slow, deliberate motions you're starting to recognize. You sit up, feeling the familiar weight in your muscles. Not pain exactly, just a deep reminder that yesterday happened. You roll your shoulders slightly, flex your hands, and take a slow breath. The air feels clean. Still, a moment of calm before everything begins again. A small portion of food is passed your way. Simple, practical. Bread, of course. Slightly firm now, no longer warm from the oven, but still sustaining. You take a bite, chewing slowly. It's different from what you're used to. Denser, more present. But after yesterday, it tastes like exactly what you need. A mainstream historical fact settles in. Bread and simple provisions like this formed the foundation of daily nutrition along the Silk Road. Meals weren't elaborate during travel. They were efficient, designed to provide energy rather than indulgence. You take another bite, noticing how quickly it disappears once you stop analyzing it. Hunger makes everything easier. After a full day of walking, even the simplest bread starts to feel like a 5-star experience. You finish, brush your hands lightly, and stand as the camp continues to shift into motion. Packing happens quickly, efficiently. There's no wasted movement. Blankets are folded, bundles secured, tools gathered. The temporary space that felt like a resting place just hours ago begins to dissolve. Nothing left behind. A quirky detail surfaces. Experienced caravans often left minimal trace of their camps, both out of habit and practicality. Resources were limited, and anything left behind was either unnecessary or a mistake. You glance around. The space already looks less occupied, less defined, as if the night never really happened. The camels are loaded again, each bundle returned to its place with practiced care. You notice how quickly it all comes together, the structure reforming itself. Without discussion, historians still argue whether caravan routines were strictly timed or more fluid, adapting to conditions and experience. Watching this, it feels like routine shaped by necessity, not rigid, but reliable. You pick up your own bundle, adjusting it with slightly more confidence than yesterday. It still has weight, but now you know how to carry it, how to shift it when needed, how to move with it instead of against it. A small improvement. The caravan begins to move again. No announcement, no signal, just the first step, followed by another. You fall into line, your body remembering the rhythm before your mind fully engages. Step, sink, lift, repeat. The desert looks the same, and yet it doesn't. You notice more now, the way the light hits the sand at this angle, the subtle shadows forming along small ridges, the faint traces of movement left behind by wind or passing animals. The horizon shifts slowly as you walk, revealing slight variations in the landscape. A distant rise, a darker patch of ground, nothing dramatic, but enough to remind you that you are moving, even if it feels like you aren't. The group is quieter this morning, not silent, but more subdued. Perhaps everyone is still waking up, or perhaps this is just the natural rhythm, movement following rest, without the need for conversation. You adjust your pace slightly, matching the caravan's flow. The camels move as steadily as ever, their presence almost reassuring now. They don't question the journey, they just follow it. A man ahead adjusts his head, covering again, shielding himself from the growing light. You do the same, instinctively now. The sun hasn't reached its full strength yet, but you know it will. It always does. A soft breeze passes through, carrying the faint scent of dust and distance. It's familiar now, expected. You breathe it in without thinking. Another light thought drifts through your mind. If modern life had this kind of consistency, same pace, same rhythm, you might actually get used to it. Then again, you'd probably still miss air conditioning. You continue walking. The rhythm settles in again. Step, sink, lift, repeat. Time begins to blur once more. The early morning stretching into something longer, less defined. There are no clear markers, no obvious transitions, just movement, steady, unchanging, and yet somehow always moving forward. You glance ahead, noticing a faint shift in the terrain once again. A subtle change, a hint of something different. The journey continues, and so do you. The subtle change you noticed earlier slowly becomes more defined as the caravan continues forward. At first, it's just a variation in the ground. Less sand, more compact earth beneath your feet. Then the air shifts slightly, carrying a faint trace of something unfamiliar. Not quite vegetation, not quite water, but something different. You keep walking, because that's what you do here. But now, there's a quiet awareness moving through the group, a shared recognition that something ahead is not just more desert. The horizon begins to break, gradually, as shapes emerge from the distance. Low walls, a few scattered buildings, the faint outline of something that feels intentional. You blink once, just to be sure. Still there, the caravan doesn't speed up, but there's a subtle lift in the energy. The camels maintain their pace, but the people adjust their posture. You feel it too. Relief, perhaps, or simply curiosity. As you draw closer, the details sharpen. The buildings are made of mud brick, their surfaces worn but sturdy. A large open courtyard sits at the center, surrounded by walls that offer a sense of enclosure, of safety. A caravanserai, a resting place built specifically for travelers like you. Caravanserais were essential along the Silk Road, spaced at intervals that matched a day's journey. They provided shelter, water, food, and a place for traders to rest, exchange goods, and gather information. You step through the wide entrance. The transition from open desert to enclosed space immediately noticeable. The air feels different here, less exposed, slightly cooler, carrying the layered sense of people, animals, and cooking fires. The ground is firm, packed down by years of use. You're not the only ones arriving. Other caravans are already here, their camels resting along the edges of the courtyard, their goods stacked neatly nearby. The space feels alive, but not chaotic, structured in a way that accommodates movement without losing order. You set your bundle down, feeling the familiar relief as the weight leaves your shoulder. It's a small moment, but it carries a quiet satisfaction. This might be the ancient version of checking into a roadside hotel, just with fewer pillows and more camels. You look around more carefully now. The courtyard is surrounded by small rooms or alcoves, likely used for storage or rest. A well sits near one side, with a small group already gathered around it, drawing water in measured amounts. Water. The word itself feels more significant here. You move closer, waiting your turn. observing how others handle it. There's no rush, no pushing. When it's your turn, you take a small portion, drinking slowly. The water is cooler than you expected. It's not perfect, but it's exactly what your body needs. You step back, allowing the next person forward. The caravan begins to settle into this space, spreading out slightly but maintaining its structure. Historians argue whether caravanserais were functional rest stops or hubs of cultural exchange. It's easy to see how they could be both, because this place is not quiet, not in the way the desert was. Voices rise and fall in different languages, blending into a soft, constant murmur. Traders move between groups, exchanging small items, gestures, perhaps even news from distant regions. Some caravanserais became known for specific types of trade, almost like early versions of specialized marketplaces. You wander a little, careful not to stray too far from your group. A merchant displays a small collection of items, beads perhaps, or small crafted objects. Another examines a piece of fabric, running his fingers along its surface with quiet focus. Everything here is measured, considered, nothing is rushed. You pause near a shaded area, watching as a group prepares a simple meal. The smell of cooking drifts through the courtyard, warm, familiar, grounding. It mixes with the scent of dust and animals, creating something uniquely tied to this place. You sit for a moment, letting the atmosphere settle around you. This is different from the desert. Not easier, exactly, but more contained, more connected. You're not just moving through space anymore. You're part of a temporary community, a place where paths cross, even briefly. You glance back toward the entrance, where the desert stretches beyond the walls, still vast, still waiting. But for now, you're here, resting, observing, letting the steady rhythm of travel pause, just for a little while, because soon enough, you'll be moving again. The desert is a world of constant movement, where the horizon shifts with every gust of wind, and every step feels like a negotiation with the sand. But here, within these walls, the world finally stands still. I find a patch of shade, a sanctuary of stone that has weathered 1,000 journeys. I slide down, feeling the rough texture of the wall against my back. It is cool, solid, and unforgiving in the best possible way. I look down at my feet. They are coated in the fine, pale dust of the trail, finally resting on ground that does not move beneath them. The courtyard hums with a quiet energy. The sound of low voices and the gentle shifting of pack animals creates a melody of temporary belonging. Nearby, a group has gathered around a small fire. There is no urgency in their movements, only the steady rhythm of a ritual as old as the road. A shallow pot sits atop the flames, releasing a thin, steady stream of steam that curls into the warm afternoon air, carrying the scent of cumin. A local man reaches out. His hands are weathered by the sun, yet his movements are graceful as he tears a piece of fresh flatbread. He dips it into the stew, a simple act of sustenance that feels more profound than any feast I have ever known. A bowl is placed in my hands. It is warm, and for a moment, I simply hold it, letting the heat seep into my palms. The bread is coarse, and the stew is mild. Yet, as I take the first bite, I feel a grounding weight settle in my chest. This is the true luxury of the Silk Road. Not the silk or the spices, but the quiet moment when hunger is met with kindness. A darkened kettle makes its way around the circle. The tea is poured into small cups, the dark liquid catching the fading light. I hold the cup close. The steam brushes against my face like a warm ghost. I watch the others, each lost in their own silent reflection. The distant trader adjusts his dusty robes, his eyes fixed on the horizon, as if he is mentally mapping the miles yet to come. A light breeze stirs the dust and the hanging fabrics of the market stalls. It carries the coolness of the approaching evening. I lean back and close my eyes. For this moment, there is no journey. There is no destination. There is only the breath in my lungs. In the distance, two men examine a piece of fabric. They move with careful, slow consideration, as if the world has no clocks. This sacred pause is the heartbeat of the road. It is the silence that allows us to hear the truth of our own existence. The sun continues its slow descent, painting the walls in hues of amber and gold. The movement of the world continues, but I remain still. We are travelers, yes, but in the quiet grounding of this place, we remind ourselves why we journey, to find the peace that lives within the pause. You remain seated a little longer, letting the last warmth of the tea settle through you, when a subtle shift begins to ripple across the courtyard. It's not loud or alarming, no raised voices, no sudden urgency, but something changes in the way people move, more deliberate, more aware. You notice it first in the way a trader near the entrance pauses, scanning the horizon before stepping back inside. Another adjusts a bundle more carefully than before, tightening the rope just a bit more securely. A handler checks the camels again, running his hand along a strap, then stepping back with a thoughtful nod. Nothing dramatic, just attention. You straighten slightly, picking up on it. This journey may be steady, but it isn't without its quiet challenges. A mainstream historical fact settles in. While the Silk Road enabled trade across vast distances, it also passed through regions where conditions could be unpredictable. Weather shifts, difficult terrain, and occasional threats from bandits or rival groups. Caravans often traveled together for safety, relying on numbers and awareness rather than confrontation. You glance toward the entrance again. Still calm, still open, but the awareness remains. Historians still argue whether most Silk Road caravans faced frequent danger or if the risks have been somewhat exaggerated in historical narratives. Some suggest that the routes were relatively stable due to the economic importance of trade, while others point to periods of instability. Standing here now, it feels like the truth sits somewhere in between. You notice a small group gathering near one side of the courtyard, speaking in low, measured tones. One gestures outward, then makes a slight motion with his hand, something about direction, perhaps. The others nod, listening, planning, not reacting. A light thought drifts through your mind. This is the ancient version of checking the weather forecast, except instead of an app, it's a group of experienced travelers quietly comparing notes. You stand, brushing your hands lightly against your clothing, and move a little closer, not intruding, just observing. The conversation remains calm, the gestures precise. There's no sign of panic, just preparation. A quirky detail surfaces. Some caravans employed scouts or relied on local knowledge to anticipate potential challenges along the route. Information traveled almost as quickly as goods, passed from one group to another, shared in places like this. You imagine how important that information must be. Not written, not recorded in a way you'd recognize, but remembered, trusted. You step back slightly as the group disperses, each person returning to their tasks with a bit more intention than before. A bundle is rechecked, a strap tightened, a path reconsidered. The journey continues, but not blindly. You return to your place along the wall, watching as the courtyard gradually shifts again. The earlier sense of rest begins to give way to quiet readiness. People are still calm, still composed, but there's a subtle edge now. You feel it too. Not fear, just awareness. A man passes by carrying a small object, perhaps a tool or a personal item, and pauses briefly to adjust it before moving on. Another checks the position of a water container, ensuring it's secure. Small actions, important ones. You glance toward the camels again. They remain as steady as ever, their calm presence almost reassuring. A light, sleepy humor drifts through your thoughts. If the camels ever decided to panic, that's probably when you'd start worrying. Until then, everything seems under control. You shift your weight slightly, feeling the ground beneath you. Solid, reliable. The contrast between this space and the open desert beyond the walls becomes more apparent now. Inside, structure, shelter, shared awareness. Outside, vastness, unpredictability, distance. You take a slow breath, letting it out gently. The decision to move again is not announced. It simply happens. One group begins preparing their animals. Another gathers their belongings. The courtyard begins to loosen, its energy shifting toward departure. You stand, lifting your bundle once more. It feels familiar now, the weight no longer surprising. You adjust it without thinking, settling it into place. Ready? Or at least, ready enough. The caravan begins to form again near the entrance. The loose structure tightening into a line. You take your place, glancing briefly back at the courtyard. It already feels less like a resting place, more like a moment that's passed. Historians still argue whether caravanserais were seen as destinations in themselves, or simply necessary pauses along a longer journey. For you, it feels like both. A place to rest, a place to prepare, and now, a place to leave behind. You step forward as the caravan begins to move once more, crossing the threshold back into the open desert. The light has shifted slightly, the air warmer again. The rhythm returns. Step, sink, lift, repeat. The awareness from earlier doesn't disappear. It settles quietly beneath the surface, shaping how you move, how you observe, how you continue. Because this journey isn't just about distance. It's about understanding the space between one place and the next. And right now, you're moving through it. You step out beyond the walls of the caravanserai, and the openness returns almost immediately. Wide, quiet, and waiting. The desert stretches ahead again, but something about it feels slightly different now. Not unfamiliar, just changed. Or maybe it's you. The rhythm resumes, without hesitation. Step, sink, lift, repeat. But the ground beneath your feet begins to shift more noticeably this time. The sand thins out, replaced gradually by firmer earth and scattered stones. The color deepens, taking on a muted, earthy tone. You glance down, testing each step. More stable, less shifting, easier in a way. The caravan adjusts subtly, the camels moving with the same steady confidence, their pace unchanged. Around you, the traders shift their footing slightly, adapting without comment. No one points it out. No one needs to. A mainstream historical fact settles in. The Silk Road crossed a wide variety of terrains, not just deserts, but mountains, grasslands, and oasis regions. Each environment required small adjustments, different strategies, but the overall rhythm of travel remained surprisingly consistent. You look ahead, noticing the horizon no longer appears as a smooth, endless line. Instead, it breaks gently, low rises, faint outlines of distant hills. The air feels different too, still dry, but cooler, just slightly. You pull your covering back a fraction, letting your face catch the change. It's subtle, but noticeable enough to register. After hours of desert heat, even a tiny drop in temperature feels like a luxury upgrade. The caravan continues forward, and with each step, the environment becomes a little more defined. Small patches of hardy vegetation appear. Nothing lush, nothing abundant, but enough to break the monotony. Life, even in small forms, feels significant out here. A quirky detail: certain plants along the Silk Road were valued for food, medicinal uses, herbs, roots, and fibers for healing and crafting. You glance at one of the traders, wondering how much of this knowledge they carry. Probably more than you. A man ahead slows slightly, bending to inspect something near the ground. He picks up a small object, examines it, then tucks it away. Historians still argue whether travelers along the Silk Road actively collected items from the environments or focused strictly on transporting goods. You continue walking, your steps now more confident on the firmer ground. The repetition remains, but it feels less demanding. Step, lift, move. The pace doesn't change, but the effort does. You glance at the camels again. Their movement remains unchanged. Their steady presence almost comforting now. They don't react to the terrain shift. They simply continue. If there were a lesson, it might be more like the camels. Adapt quietly, complain less, and keep moving forward. The sun shifts slightly in the sky, its angle softening just enough to cast longer shadows across the ground. Time, once again, becomes less defined, measured not in minutes, but in movement. You glance ahead, noticing the terrain rising gradually. The caravan begins to angle slightly, adjusting its path to follow the natural contours of the land. No sharp turns, just gentle shifts. A soft conversation begins nearby, the tones familiar now, even if the words aren't. It blends into the background hum of the journey. You let it fade, focus returning to the path, to the rhythm, to the quiet understanding that each step carries you forward. A faint breeze moves through again, cooler this time, carrying a hint of something unfamiliar. Not desert, stone perhaps. The landscape continues to shift, revealing its next form. The endless sand is now behind you, replaced by something more structured. The journey isn't just long, it's layered, each part leading into the next, each environment shaping the experience in quiet ways. You take another step, then another. The rhythm continues. There's a sense of transition, a movement into the ground continues to rise beneath your feet, almost imperceptibly at first, then with a quiet insistence that you can no longer ignore. The flat openness of the desert gives way to a more textured world, stones scattered beneath your steps, the path narrowing slightly. You feel it immediately, not just in your footing, but in the air. Cooler now, thinner perhaps. You pull your covering a little tighter, not against heat this time, but against a faint chill that seems to drift down from somewhere ahead. The horizon sharpens into something more defined. Low mountains, their edges softened by distance, but unmistakably present. Step, lift, adjust. The rhythm shifts, not broken, just altered. The camels slow slightly, their pace adapting to the incline without complaint. You follow, shortening your stride, placing each step more carefully now. The ground is less forgiving here. No soft sand to cushion a misstep. A mainstream historical fact settles in. Many branches of the Silk Road passed through mountainous regions, including parts of Central Asia. These routes demanded experience and patience, qualities the caravan seems to have in quiet abundance. You breathe in slowly, noticing the air feels different in your chest. Not uncomfortable, just distinct, as if the environment itself is reminding you that you're no longer in the same place you started. A light thought drifts. Yesterday, you were wondering if you could survive the desert, and now the mountains have entered the conversation. You almost laugh. The path narrows further, curving gently along the natural contours of the land. The caravan stretches into a longer line. No one rushes. There's no room for it. You notice how the traders adjust their loads, tightening straps, redistributing weight slightly. Bactrian camels are not just desert animals. They are well adapted to cold climates and mountainous terrain, capable of handling temperature extremes. You glance at one as it steps carefully over a patch of uneven stone. Still unimpressed, still steady, you follow its lead. Walking here, it feels like adaptability would have been essential. The land changes, the path changes, so must you. A faint sound reaches your ears. Water. A small stream appears ahead, cutting gently across the path. The water is clear, moving steadily, reflecting the light in small, shifting patterns. You resist the urge to stop. The caravan doesn't pause. The path begins to climb a little more now, the incline more noticeable. Your breathing adjusts again, slightly deeper, slightly more deliberate. The air grows cooler still, carrying a faint scent of stone and distant vegetation. The environment is shifting, and you are shifting with it. The path curves again, revealing more of the terrain ahead. Gentle slopes, scattered rock formations, the suggestion of higher ground still to come. The journey continues, not as it was, but as it is now. And you, step by step, continue with it. The path curves gently along the mountainside, and with each careful step, the world seems to open in a new direction. The desert is now far behind you, no longer visible, only remembered, and the air carries a different kind of quiet, cooler, sharper, more defined. You move with more intention now, placing each foot with care as the ground shifts beneath you. The stones are uneven, sometimes loose, sometimes firm, and the path narrows just enough to remind you that balance matters here. The caravan stretches into a long, careful line. No one overtakes, no one lingers. Everyone moves with a shared awareness of the terrain. Step, place, adjust. The rhythm has changed again, but it hasn't disappeared. It's simply adapted. You glance ahead, noticing how the traders move with quiet confidence, their bodies leaning slightly into the incline, their steps deliberate but unhurried. The camels follow, their movements steady, almost effortless despite the rising ground. You follow their lead, and it works. A mainstream historical fact settles into your thoughts. The Silk Road was not just a trade route, but a communication network, where written messages, ideas, and knowledge traveled alongside goods. Letters were often carried across vast distances by trusted intermediaries, sometimes taking months or even years to reach their destination. You notice a trader ahead adjusting something tucked into his clothing, a small wrapped item held close, a letter, perhaps, or something equally important. Communication here isn't instant. It's carried, protected, delivered with patience. You imagine what it must feel like to wait for news, knowing it could take months to arrive. Then realize that here, that's simply normal. A light thought drifts through your mind. Modern messaging feels a bit excessive when compared to this. Just wait a few seasons. Your reply is on the way. You almost smile. The path widens slightly as you round a bend, revealing a small plateau where the caravan begins to gather again. The tighter line relaxes, giving way to a more open formation. You step onto the flatter ground, feeling the shift immediately. Easier, more stable. You take a deeper breath, letting the cooler air fill your lungs. It feels refreshing. Nearby, a few traders pause, adjusting their loads, taking a moment to rest without fully stopping. The caravan doesn't halt completely, it simply softens its pace, allowing for small adjustments. Historians still argue whether communication along the Silk Road relied more heavily on written language or oral transmission. Watching this quiet exchange of objects, gestures, and understanding, it feels like both played their part. Not everything needs to be written. Some things are simply known. A quirky detail surfaces. Different regions along the Silk Road used a wide variety of scripts and languages. Chinese characters, Persian scripts, Greek influences, and more. This diversity made communication complex, but also rich with possibility. You consider how many languages might be spoken around you right now. Then decide it's probably best not to try counting. You move toward the edge of the plateau, looking out over the landscape below. The view stretches wide, revealing layers of terrain. Rolling hills, distant valleys, the faint outline of paths, carved by time and travel. It's a different kind of vastness. Not empty like the desert, but full, layered, connected. You stand there for a moment longer than you expected, taking it in. A trader passes beside you, offering a brief nod before continuing on. You return it, the gesture now familiar, almost automatic. No words needed. The caravan begins to move again, flowing naturally from the plateau back onto the path. You follow, your steps falling back into rhythm with ease. Step, place, adjust. The movement continues, but now there's a new awareness, not just of the ground beneath your feet, but of the connections around you, the people, the goods, the ideas moving together across this landscape. You glance at the trader ahead again, the one with the small wrapped item. A letter, perhaps? A message carried across mountains and deserts. From one place to another, bridging distances that feel almost unimaginable. You wonder what it says, then realize you'll never know. And somehow, that feels appropriate. The journey isn't about knowing everything. It's about moving through it, experiencing it, letting it unfold one step at a time. You take another step, then another. The path continues, and so do you. The path begins to descend gently, almost as if the mountains themselves are easing you forward. The air shifts again, still cool, but carrying a faint warmth beneath it now, like a quiet reminder of something new. You notice it first in the distance, not clearly, not all at once, just a suggestion, a line, a shape that doesn't quite belong to the natural landscape. You keep walking, your focus narrowing as the details begin to emerge. The path widens, the ground smoothing underfoot. There's a subtle lift in the energy, not excitement, not urgency, just awareness. You draw closer, and the shapes resolve into structures, walls, buildings arranged with intention. Many Silk Road routes connected to major urban centers, cities that served as hubs of trade, culture, and administration. Places where goods were not just transported, but exchanged, recorded, and redistributed. The caravan slows slightly, not because of difficulty, but because of purpose. Movement becomes more measured, more deliberate. You adjust your bundle again, instinctively straightening your posture. Presentation matters. It's like arriving somewhere important and realizing you should have worn something more impressive than desert-dusted travel gear. The path leads toward a wide entrance, framed by walls that create a sense of enclosure without feeling overwhelming. People move in and out. Traders, workers, each one part of a larger system. The sounds reach you next. Voices, layered, different tones, different languages, overlapping in a steady, continuous flow. The ground is firm, well worn. The air carries a mix of scents, spices, fabrics, food, something faintly metallic. It's richer, more complex than anything you've experienced on the open road. You pause for a fraction of a second. The space opens into a broad street lined with structures that feel permanent. Established buildings with purpose. Historians still argue whether Silk Road cities were centralized markets or decentralized networks. Standing here, it feels like both. You watch as goods are unloaded from nearby caravans, carefully transferred from one set of hands to another. A trader nearby begins examining a bundle of fabric, running his fingers along its surface. Silk, spices, items you've walked beside for days. Now, they're being evaluated, priced, exchanged. Some Silk Road cities became known for specializing in certain trades: textiles, metals, ceramics. You move with the caravan as it navigates toward a designated area where goods can be sorted. The process is familiar now, but here, it feels different, more final, as if this is where the journey reaches one of its endpoints. A trader approaches, examining it briefly before making a small note. The object has reached its destination. After all that walking, it's a bit surreal to see the journey end with a simple, "Yes, this looks acceptable." Around you, the city moves with quiet purpose. Not rushed, not frantic, just constant. You realize something. The journey doesn't really end here. It changes. The goods will move again, to new owners, new destinations, new paths, and the people? They will do the same, from desert to mountain to city. Step by step, you've followed the path, and now you've arrived. You stand just at the edge of the movement, where the steady rhythm of arrival begins to soften into something quieter. The goods have been set down, examined, and absorbed into the larger flow of the city. The caravan, once a single, continuous line, stretching across desert and mountain, now feels dispersed, not gone, just unfolded. You take a few slow steps away from the busiest part of the courtyard, letting the sounds fade slightly. The voices are still there, the exchanges continuing, but they no longer press in around you. Instead, they settle into a distant hum. You find a place near a wall where the light falls gently across the ground, and lower yourself to sit. The stone beneath you is cool, a quiet contrast to the warmth of the desert you left behind. You exhale slowly. The journey has carried you across shifting sands, through rising paths, into this structured space filled with movement and purpose. And now, without any clear signal, it seems to be easing towards stillness. Silk Road journeys were rarely single, uninterrupted passages. Instead, they were made up of segments, traders moving goods from one hub to another, which means this wasn't the whole journey, just your part of it. Historians still argue whether most traders traveled long distances themselves or specialized in shorter regional routes, handing off goods along the way. You rest your hands loosely on your knees, noticing how the tension has left your shoulders. The weight you carried has been set down. There's nothing left to adjust, nothing left to balance, just stillness. A trader passes nearby, carrying a smaller bundle, already moving with a new sense of purpose. The journey continues for him. Some goods would change hands dozens of times before reaching their destination, each exchange adding value, story, and distance to their journey. You lean back slightly, letting your gaze drift across the courtyard. The structures and people feel more defined now, easier to observe. You notice the details, the way light reflects off a polished surface, the way the air carries layered scents that shift subtly. Everything is still active, But you are not, and that changes how you experience it. After walking across deserts and climbing mountains, sitting still suddenly feels like the most advanced skill you've learned. You almost smile. The sounds soften further as your attention drifts inward. The hum of the city becomes a distant backdrop, blending with your breathing. The images of the journey begin to surface: sand stretching beneath the rising sun, the steady movement of camels, the cool stillness of night. All of it connected, all of it part of a single, flowing experience. Your breathing slows. The edges of those memories soften, blending together in a way that feels less like a sequence and more like a feeling. The world around you continues, but it no longer demands your attention. It simply exists, allowing you to remain still within it. The light in the courtyard begins to soften because your awareness is fading slightly, easing back. You feel the weight of the journey lift, replaced by a quiet sense of completion. Not final, not absolute, but enough. Enough for now. Let your shoulders relax. Let your hands rest. Let the steady rhythm of the journey fade into stillness. There's nothing left to carry, nothing left to follow. Just this moment, this quiet pause at the edge of a long path. And as you sit there, breathing slowly, the world softens even further. Sounds drifting away, light fading gently. Everything that needed to happen has already happened. You can simply drift, gently, quietly, into stillness. Sweet dreams.